As reports emerge from various sources, the ongoing conflict between Russia and Ukraine is witnessing a significant shift in the balance of power on the battlefield. According to a recent article in the Washington Post, Russian military officials, alongside insights from US and European experts, suggest that Russia is losing its battlefield advantages, facing critical shortages in both personnel and weaponry. This could create an opportunity for Ukraine and its allies to press for an end to hostilities. Richard Barrons, former head of the United Kingdom's Joint Forces Command, commented on the situation, stating Russia is very gradually taking bits of territory still, but at an unsustainably high cost. This sentiment is echoed by a Ukrainian security official who noted that despite Russia's numerical superiority, reportedly 3-1 in troop strength, this has not translated into significant gains in territory since the end of Ukraine's counteroffensive in 2023. The challenges facing Russia are compounded by alarming assessments from Western military analysts who predict that the Russian inventory of tanks may be exhausted within months. Jack Watling, a senior research fellow at the Royal United Services Institute, articulated concerns that as Russia continues its campaign, the forces will become increasingly demechanized, limiting their operational capabilities. He stated the Russians can continue fighting, but the force will become more and more demechanized over time, effectively placing a timeline on Russia's ability to maintain its current combat tactics. As the conflict drags on, the Kremlin's ambitions remain a focal point of contention. Reports indicate that President Vladimir Putin is unwavering in his demands for the annexation of all 4 Ukrainian regions that Russia has claimed, despite not fully occupying them. This stance, alongside the Kremlin's persistent narrative about NATO's expansion and the alleged discrimination against Russian speakers in Ukraine, continues to underpin Russia's justification for its military actions. Tensions escalated further with the Kremlin's recent offer of direct peace talks scheduled to take place on June 2 in Istanbul. However, Ukrainian officials have expressed skepticism regarding the sincerity of these talks, suggesting that Russia is hesitant to disclose its demands, which they believe may be unrealistic. Hyuriy Tykii, a spokesman for Ukraine's foreign ministry, stated Russia is likely filled with unrealistic ultimatums, underscoring the distrust that permeates the negotiation process. In a stark juxtaposition, U.S. political figures, including President Donald Trump, have been criticized for appearing to soften their stance on sanctions against Russia. Trump has hinted at a 2-week deadline for Putin to demonstrate a genuine desire for peace, further complicating the diplomatic landscape. The military dynamics on the ground remain fluid. Reports indicate that Russian forces have recently advanced in several areas, intensifying their operations in regions like Donetsk and Kharkiv. Ukrainian forces, for their part, have conducted drone strikes targeting Russian military infrastructure, underscoring the ongoing tit-for-tat nature of the conflict. Looking ahead, the strategic environment appears poised for potential escalation. Analysts suggest that with Russia's military capabilities dwindling, there is a critical window for Ukraine and its allies to apply pressure for a ceasefire. While Putin may harbor ambitions of prolonged military engagement, the sustained losses and resource shortages could compel a reassessment of Russia's strategy. As the situation evolves, both sides are preparing for a summer campaign, with each seeking to leverage their tactical advantages to influence the eventual peace negotiations. The coming weeks will be crucial in determining whether diplomatic solutions can emerge amid the backdrop of continued military confrontations. In a dramatic escalation of the ongoing conflict between Russia and Ukraine, Moscow has experienced a series of unprecedented drone attacks over the past 2 days, prompting significant alarm among Russian authorities and civilians alike. On May 29, a building on the outskirts of the capital was reportedly damaged during a Ukrainian drone strike, marking the second consecutive day of such assaults targeting the Russian heartland. Moscow Mayor Sergei Sobyanin confirmed that debris from a downed drone caused the damage, but fortunately, no injuries were reported. Eyewitness accounts and social media footage captured explosions near Vernadsky Avenue around 1:40 a.m. local time, highlighting the increasing threat Ukrainian forces pose within Russian territory. The drone strikes come on the heels of a tumultuous period for Russian air defenses, which reportedly intercepted 48 drones overnight, including 3 over Moscow Oblast. This follows an even more intense night on May 28 when Russian forces claimed to have shot down 296 drones, marking one of the most substantial drone attacks witnessed since the onset of the war. The continuous stream of Ukrainian drone assaults has not only sparked fear within Moscow but has also led to airport shutdowns, including at Vnukovo Airport, as Russian authorities scramble to respond to the aerial threat. As the conflict drags on, Ukraine has ramped up its drone operations aimed at disrupting Russian military logistics and overwhelming air defenses. Analysts suggest that these attacks are designed to undermine public morale in Russia by making the war feel more immediate and threatening, especially as they have forced the closure of airports, effectively grounding civilian flights and disrupting the movement of goods. In retaliation, Russia has launched its own drone strikes against Ukraine utilizing a new jet-powered unmanned aerial vehicle UAV called the Dan-M, capable of reaching speeds up to 750 km per hour. This drone, initially designed for military training purposes, has been repurposed for offensive operations, reflecting the ongoing adaptation of military strategies by both sides in this protracted conflict. Further complicating the situation, the Institute for the Study of War reported that Russian President Vladimir Putin remains steadfast in his demands for territorial concessions from Ukraine, insisting on the cession of 4 oblasts that Russia has annexed but not fully occupied. The Kremlin's refusal to entertain ceasefire proposals continues to fuel hostilities, with both sides preparing for intensified military engagements as summer approaches. In addition to the aerial confrontations, Ukrainian forces have conducted targeted strikes against Russian military-industrial sites, disrupting the production of critical military hardware. Recent drone strikes have successfully targeted factories in Yelets, Kinishma and Tula, which are integral to the Russian military's logistics and weaponry, including the production of artillery shells and missiles. These strategic hits aim to alleviate pressure on Ukrainian ground troops and hinder Russia's capability for sustained assaults. As the conflict evolves, the ramifications of these drone attacks and retaliatory operations underscore a critical juncture in the war, with both sides bracing for heightened offensives. The potential for further escalations looms large. The ongoing aerial exchanges and the strategic disruptions inflicted on military supply chains may significantly impact the operational capabilities of Russian forces as they prepare for what many analysts expect to be a pivotal summer campaign. The situation remains fluid, with both nations engaging in a high-stakes game of military strategy that promises to reshape the contours of the conflict in the months ahead. As developments unfold, the international community watches closely, cognizant of the broader implications for regional stability and security. In a dramatic shift of tone, President Donald Trump is openly voicing frustration with Russian President Vladimir Putin, raising questions about the future of U.S.-Russia relations and the ongoing conflict in Ukraine. Following months of admiration for Putin, including praises for his savvy strategy, Trump's recent remarks suggest a newfound skepticism regarding the Russian leader's intentions. In a press conference held in the Oval Office, Trump expressed disappointment that Putin's aggressive actions have continued unabated even as he sought to leverage their relationship for peace negotiations. "We're going to find out whether or not he's tapping us along or not," Trump stated, indicating that he might reconsider his previously cordial approach if significant progress isn't achieved soon. This change comes after a failed call between the two leaders, which did not yield any breakthroughs and coincided with a recent surge in Russian military attacks on Ukrainian civilians. The backdrop to this escalating tension is the ongoing war in Ukraine, which has seen renewed violence from Russian forces targeting civilian areas in Ukraine, following one of the largest aerial campaigns against Ukraine in recent months. Trump described Putin's actions as absolutely crazy and warned that Russia was playing with fire. This harsh critique marks a stark contrast from Trump's earlier characterizations of Putin, where he often framed the Russian president favorably even during times of heightened conflict. Despite this apparent shift, experts and political allies remain skeptical of the effectiveness of Trump's new stance. Many argue that his previous statements and actions have allowed Putin to consolidate power and prolong the war. Senator Lindsey Graham, who has historically supported Trump, warned that the president risks being played by Putin, while other lawmakers have called for a more aggressive approach against Russia. The lack of concrete action following Trump's latest remarks raises further concerns. While he has hinted at potential sanctions, he has yet to impose any significant measures, leaving many to question whether his tough rhetoric will translate into a change in policy. Representative Gregory Meeks emphasized that words alone are insufficient, stating, "There are things he can do right now, sanctions is one, but also giving the Ukrainians what they need to defend themselves." Trump's relationship with Putin is complicated by their shared history, which dates back to the 2016 election, when Russian interference played a pivotal role in his ascent to the presidency. Trump's continued reluctance to fully condemn Putin's actions has led to accusations that he is prioritizing personal rapport over international stability and justice. Critics have pointed out that Trump's previous admiration for Putin does not align with the reality of the humanitarian crisis unfolding in Ukraine. As the situation evolves, the implications of Trump's changing rhetoric will be closely monitored, particularly as the U.S. grapples with its role in the ongoing conflict. The president's future decisions will be critical in shaping not only U.S.-Russia relations but also the broader geopolitical landscape in Europe and beyond. Whether Trump can reconcile his previous views with the current realities on the ground remains to be seen, as many hope for a resolution that prioritizes peace and stability over political posturing. In a crucial meeting held in Berlin, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelenskyy and German Chancellor Friedrich Merz solidified their commitment to enhancing military support for Ukraine as the conflict with Russia escalates. This meeting comes at a time when Russian attacks are intensifying, further underscoring the urgency for Ukraine to bolster its defense capabilities. During the joint press conference, Zelenskyy expressed his desire for increased international pressure on Russia, criticizing what he perceived as a lack of commitment from global powers. "There is not enough pressure," he stated, emphatically highlighting the need for greater involvement from countries like the United States and others from the global south. Zelenskyy's comments reflect a broader sentiment among Ukrainian leadership that a sustainable peace may remain elusive as long as Vladimir Putin remains in power. "We will have a just peace, but likely only after Putin," he added. Chancellor Merz announced that Germany would assist Ukraine in developing long-range weapons capable of striking targets within Russia, a significant shift from previous restrictions imposed on military aid. "There will be no range restrictions allowing Ukraine to fully defend itself," Merz declared, emphasizing the collaborative effort to enhance Ukraine's military capabilities. This commitment includes plans for joint production of weapon systems, marking a new chapter in military-industrial cooperation between the two nations. The discussions come on the heels of Zelenskyy's request for Taurus cruise missiles, which possess a range of 500 kilometers. Although Merz acknowledged that delivering these missiles might take months of training for Ukrainian troops, he did not rule out their eventual supply, stating, "It is certainly within the realm of possibility." Such advanced weaponry is crucial as Ukraine anticipates a potential Russian summer offensive, with reports indicating that Russia has amassed approximately 50,000 troops near the Ukrainian border. The backdrop of this meeting is a complex landscape of ongoing diplomatic efforts. Russia has indicated its readiness to present a peace memorandum in Istanbul on June 2 following a series of high-profile exchanges between the two nations. However, Zelenskyy has accused Russia of stalling negotiations, asserting that Moscow seeks reasons to prolong the conflict. "They will constantly look for reasons not to end the war," he lamented, pointing to recent drone attacks as evidence of Russia's lack of genuine interest in peace. As both leaders emphasized the importance of international unity in supporting Ukraine, they also acknowledged the role of the United States in the peace process. Merz thanked the U.S. for its ongoing support, while Zelenskyy called for a unified front against Russian aggression. "If Ukraine is not present at the NATO summit, it will be a victory for Putin," he warned, underscoring the strategic importance of Ukraine's participation in upcoming international discussions. The Kremlin responded to Germany's announcements with strong criticism, labeling them as provocations. Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov remarked on Telegram that Germany's actions reflect a dangerous trend. While German Foreign Minister Johann Wadefuhl countered that Russia's aggression does not grant it the authority to dictate the actions of Ukraine's allies. As the landscape continues to evolve, the outcomes of these diplomatic and military developments will significantly shape the future of the conflict. With Zelenskyy's calls for increased pressure on Russia and Merz's commitment to supporting Ukraine's military capabilities, the stakes are higher than ever. The international community watches closely, understanding that the next steps in this geopolitical tension could define the course of the conflict and the security landscape in Europe for years to come.